we're gonna jump right into this here. I got a few staves here. These are all Osage Orange. These are from some trees I cut down in Kansas. And we're gonna pick one of these out to make a bow out of. And this one, I'm gonna try to pick the cleanest one I got. I don't know if you can see or not. This one's got a little bit of propeller twist to it, which you can correct. But I'm gonna see if I got a better one here. So this one looks to be very straight. It does have maybe a few little pin knots up here. Got some actual knots. Nothing really down the center, so something we could definitely work out. Give it a little more character. This one's got just a little bit of twist. Not bad, it's pretty straight. Just a little bit of twist going that way. All right guys, so we got the stave picked out that we're gonna be using for this bow. To start with, I'm gonna make this a little bit easier to handle. We got plenty of wood. It is plenty deep. I'm gonna take my hatchet and split about half of this off. We don't need near that much. It'll make it a lot easier to work with. So real quick, I'm gonna split that. This is good enough that we could probably save this and make another bow out of that for sure. All right, so we got some of that wood removed off the back of this, make this a lot easier to handle and work with here. So the first step of building this bow, we gotta get all the bark and all the sapwood off of this and expose one growth ring of the heartwood the whole length of the bow here. So to get a better look here, we got the bark and we got this white section of wood right here. This is the sapwood. We need to get all that removed and get down to the heartwood, and we're gonna have one continuous growth ring the whole length of this bow. So for doing this, we're gonna be using only hand tools today. If you got some power tools, sometimes a bandsaw can come in handy, but really there's no need for it. You can get into this very cheap. Draw knife and a few other hand tools is all you need. So we're gonna get started, and we're gonna get all this bark and sapwood off of this and get down to that heartwood. So there's a couple different ways you can run this draw knife. They're a single bevel. You can run it bevel down or bevel up. I find running it bevel down, I have a lot more control over the material I'm taking off. It's got that little ridge right on that bevel, and you can use that as a little fulcrum point. You can use that to control the depth. If I run it flat on the back bevel up, it just digs in, and I personally have a lot harder time controlling it like that. But you can do it either way. Whatever you find works better for you. All right, so we got all the bark off. Now we just got to keep taking this sapwood off all the way down until we get to the hardwood. All right, guys, so we got most of the sapwood off. We're getting down to the heartwood here. I want to show you guys a little issue I'm going to have on this end. It'll be an easy fix, but I want you to see how you can do this. All right, so we're getting down to the heartwood here, and on this one end, if you can see this, there's a little bit of a split right here where when it was drying, it checked a little bit. Even though I had the end painted, it still checked a little bit, but it's not very deep. It only goes down right here, just a couple growth rings. So we're gonna take, even though we're down to the heartwood, we're gonna take a couple extra rings off to get that check out of there, because that's gonna be about right where my limb tip is. So we're just gonna go a little bit deeper on that. All right, so I've taken off a couple more rings and we're got just a little bit of that crack left. We about got it cleaned up. I'm gonna go down one more ring and then I think we should have a clean back here to work with, and then we'll start chasing that ring the length of the bow. Okay, so we got through that crack. We got down a couple more growth rings and we're down to one nice growth ring. We're going to chase this one the rest of the length of this stave. You can see I started to go. I got it a few inches here, and I don't know how good you can see this, but you can see this white stuff right along here. That's the edge of the ring I'm chasing, so you can see it right here. It kind of goes down. I'm going to take my draw knife and I'm going to continue chipping away at this until we expose this one ring for the whole length of this stave. Now, one little spot that we're gonna have to give a little more attention to. All right, so all of this area, all along down to here is one growth ring, but I got this spot right here you can see. The reason I haven't got that yet is it's sitting in a little bit of a bowl. It's kind of a concave area on the back right here. If I were to take my draw knife and go deep enough to get that cleaned out, I'm gonna dig down into the growth ring on each side of it. So we got a different tool we're gonna use for that. So right here is that little spot that I can't quite get with my draw knife. So we're gonna take this cabinet scraper and probably just use that little curved edge down there. Slowly scrape that stuff up. So right here, I got a couple little pin knots and I just kind of went around it and skipped this. I got like a little island right here. So what we're gonna have to do here, if I was to take my draw knife and just try to knock that off, there's a very good chance that it's gonna tear on the back side of that. This Osage is very prone for that. If I knock that off, it's probably gonna tear down and violate the growth ring that I'm trying to save. So instead of just taking one pass and knocking that off, just kind of slowly work into it and just kind of work all the way around it. And I can come in from this side. There's gonna be, even once I'm done, there's gonna be a little bit of a bump there. Wherever you have a little knot, that growth ring is gonna bubble up there. And once you get kind of close, that's where these guys come in handy again. All right, so we are down to one growth ring for the whole back of this bow. We are ready now to draw our layout of our bow on the back of this. Before we do that though, I'm gonna come over to the edge and just kind of square these up a little bit so we got a nice smooth surface, and that's really gonna help us draw this profile out. So we're to the point now where I'm gonna be laying this stave in my vise sideways. If you are using a vise, I just got a couple pieces of leather here I use for padding. We don't want these jaws to dig into this back. We want to try to protect that a little bit. So I got a couple pieces of leather I lay in there, and that just kind of helps give it a little bit of a cushion while I'm working on this. Our goal here isn't to remove too much wood, it's just to square up these sides with the back a little bit so we got a flat edge to help draw our profile on. Okay, so we got the edges of this stave cleaned up. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna cut this bow down to what our length is going to be. For this one, I am going to be making it 65 inches. So I got about 6 inches I gotta cut off of one side. This side is pretty straight and flat the whole way down. This side right here has got kind of a weird little twist right in the end. So I'm gonna take my 6 inches off of this end just so we got a truer piece of wood to work with here. All right, so we got the stave back in the vise here, and I got the back facing back up. Next step is we're going to find what is going to be the rough center line of our bow. I got a compass I'm gonna use for this part here. You can do it by hand, but the main goal, no matter how you do it, is to follow the natural grain of the stave. If you were to just make a straight cut down both sides and have a perfectly straight symmetrical bow, you're going to be cutting across the grains unless you have an abnormally straight stave, which you do get once in a while. But this one's got a little bit of a twist to it, so we want to make sure when we scribe the center line that we're following the contour of that grain all the way down. All right, so a little tip here. When I use this compass for this, I make my pencil a little bit shorter than the pivot point here. That way I can use this as a guide. I can put it right on that smooth edge that we squared off. I can use that as a guide and use it to scribe my center line all the way down, following the contour of the stave. Okay, now that we got our center line scribed down the back of the bow, it's time to draw out our profile. This bow is 65 inches exactly. So first thing I'm going to do is find my center mark, which is going to be 32.5. So for the layout I use, that is going to be the throat of my grip. Now we're going to have a 4-inch handle on this bow. From the throat of the grip down, I'm going to make it 2 3/4 inches. And then up 1.25 inches. this is where my shelf will be. So that gives us a total of a 4-inch handle section. From the top of my handle section, I'm going to measure up 3 inches and scribe another mark. This is going to be where our fade from the handle section will come out to our full limb width. I'm going to come down to the bottom side here and make another 3-inch mark. The same thing on that side. As the bow building process goes along, our grain direction will dictate some of this, but it gives us a good starting point. So we can plan on that kind of being our shelf area right there. Okay, now we're ready to draw some guides for our limb width. These limbs, I'm going to make them about 1.5 inches wide. So we're going to come on either side of our center line here and measure out 3/4 inch on both sides. And we'll just kind of make a couple guide marks. Okay, same thing on the other side. Like I said, this is just a rough guide to get us started. As we start removing wood, the grain is probably the natural grain of the wood is probably going to change some of this a little bit, but it gives us a good starting spot. Now that I got some guides, I can just kind of connect those. Going down on both sides here. Okay, now we can come from our handle section that we drew earlier, and we have that measurement up 3 inches for our fade, and we can just kind of roughly connect these lines to where our full limb width is going to be. Same thing on this side. Okay, now we're down to what is going to be the tip of the bow here. And we're going to make our nocks about 3/8 of an inch wide. So we're going to make a couple little marks for that. Coming back down, I got a mark here that's about 12 inches from the tip. This is where our fade out is going to go towards the tip from our full limb width. So from there, we can just draw a straight edge. And once again, this is just going to be a rough guide. Once we start getting this down to shape, the natural grain of the wood is probably going to change some of this. Now we're just doing the same thing on the bottom side of the bow that we had done on the top. Come down to the end and mark our 3/8 wide tip. And then connect our 12-inch fade. All right, so that does it for the first part of this series. We got it exposed down to 1 growth ring, and we got the profile drawn on the back of the bow here. So part 2, we're going to be removing wood and see if we can't get this thing starting to bend a little bit and turn it into a bow. So If you want to see how this finishes out, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. It's never ending.